I'm Ken Allender, WILDWOOD Cabinetry. So I thought I was going to be the lone person from the South. I think there's someone from Georgia now, so I'm not the only one. So we started our lean journey on June 2nd of 2014. So we took it to heart and wanted to just go out full bore. We wouldn't have done it on the 1st of June, but that was a Sunday, so we started on Monday. And we got started in earnest and had our first meeting and started diving into it. And on the next day, on Tuesday, my production manager quit. Yeah, anybody heard that story before? But that's where we were. And so we began and continued to do it. And it's been an incredible journey. I mean, again, it's a crawl, I get it. But I mean, for us to have a culture that just see it completely change and see people that didn't believe they could do things, start seeing them grow and actually do something. We were started in 1971 by my wife's grandfather, and so we took over the business 12 years ago, and we came in at a boom, and then we hit the bus in 2007. So we were, I always say we were like the dog that was chasing the school bus. He finally caught it, and then he had to figure out what to do with it. Well, that's about us, about 2007. We had purchased CNCs, we had gotten all these tools, all this cool stuff, right about the time that everything crashed. We had 33 employees. We went down through 2 rounds of very painful cutbacks and down to 8 people. Didn't know if we were going to make it. And so through that, we've been sustained through the recession. So I could tell you lots more stories about that. But lean is part of that. For sure. So we are located in Maryville, Tennessee, that's what we call Merville. But Maryville is just about 15, 20 minutes south of Knoxville, if you know where that's at. So we began and we said, fix what bugs you, because that's what we followed. I mean, everything that you know about 2-second lean, we followed it to the letter. I mean, we're very serious. If it's what Paul says do, we're going to do it. And again, all without contacting him. We're just going to take the blueprint and watch the videos and see what you guys are doing and put it to work. And so for about 3 months, we taught lean every day, but instead of 3S'ing, we actually said 3S, but when I started noticing, we only get 1S, because sweeping was really easy. And in a wood shop, there's always something you can sweep and do. So for 20 minutes, I'm paying guys to basically sweep. And I figured this out. What now? Where they swept the night before. Absolutely. There's always something to straighten up. The wood shop, you could always make some dust. So they would do that. And so they were willing. They didn't seem like they were overtly pushing back, but they were just overwhelmed with the whole concept. So repeatedly tried to empower them. You're empowered. You can do this. And we start talking about the 8 ways. So we talk about these things, and we would teach. And I would do that. So 20 minutes of them doing their 3S'ing, and then us talking about 15 or 20 minutes. And that was going on. So for a long time, basically it's 3 months, nothing goes on. What I started figuring out was that fix, I say, is a proactive word. Fix, it's a good word, but you have to be a certain amount of proactivity. If you have a very reactive culture, just do what you're told, stay put. They're very afraid to fix anything because they're going to get in trouble. At least that's what, well, I wasn't yelling at them, but that's what they thought I think was going to happen. So proactive versus reactive. So how's it going to change that? Now for me, I'm not saying that everybody has to go out and buy 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It was gold for us. These guys had never heard it before. So I began to teach lean. At the same time, I started walking through Covey's book on the 7 habits, and I taught them the little stories about how to be proactive, and then how to begin with the end in mind. So you want to change something. So here's where you're at. You want to get there, right? What is it going to look like when you get there, or to change this thing? And then how are you going to put first things first? What's the one step? What's your 2-second improvement to get to that point? You want to get there. You see it could be better. What's the one thing you're going to do? Now, again, we took it really slow during that time. Now, how many of y'all like barbecue? You like barbecue? That's kind of a southern thing, right? It's barbecue. Have you ever had a piece of microwave meat? Yeah, it's bad though, right? Microwave. Yeah, so you've got a microwave meat. Well, it's really fast. I mean, you can excite those electrons and you can get something to happen. But you know what? If you turn it down low and slow, as we say in barbecue, if you take it down really slow, what happens is, what gets so beautiful about it is it gets surrounded by that smoke, and the connective tissue starts to break down, and the smoke seeps in, and then after a while you got this wonderful piece of meat.
All right, we'll go for barbecue.
I know, that's great. But, so to me, lean, if you take it low and slow, in some ways, I think you're going to get a better flavor. You're going to get, if you try to microwave it, you're going to get a nasty gray piece of meat that's kind of gross. So I think I got to take some time. I know in this culture we want to go really fast, but I think for us, lean, it happened a lot better slow. Methodical, and we weren't quitting, but it was just slow. And that worked, low and slow worked. So that's what we started immediately though. I mean, once we started, people started getting they could be proactive. And I am going to tell you this a real quick story about most of you probably heard the story before about how you train an elephant. And I was teaching Covey's stuff here. And so how you train an elephant, if you don't know, it's a cruel thing, don't go do it. But they say if you can go find a baby elephant, that you can take the baby elephant, you can find a large logging chain, you can put it around its leg, go find the largest tree you can, chain him up to it. The small elephant will pull and pull and pull until it makes its leg raw and it just lies down because it just knows it's never going to pull this tree down. And as the elephant grows, you can keep changing the size of the chain down to where it's just a small rope until a little stick about that big, and you have a full-grown elephant with a little twine around its leg over to a stick like this, push it down on the ground. The large elephant with all that power will just pull just a little bit, feel a little tension, and it'll stop. So I taught this story. I was talking about how you can be proactive. You got all this power in you, and you do. Well, I'm not the greatest storyteller in the world, but I thought it was an okay story. So the next day I came in, had two guys that were out in a delivery during our lean time, which is something we normally don't do, but they had been out. And so I said, who would like to tell the story? Rhetorically, because I didn't really think anybody was going to say anything. Well, wouldn't you know, the one guy that never makes any eye contact says, I'd like to tell the story. And I went, sure, go ahead. So he starts telling it. Now, he's a great guy, but he has a really thick Southern accent, and he was really animated. I mean, it was like, they go out and they find this little bitty elephant, and they take it, and I mean, they just take that little thing, and he just starts telling the story, and he's impassioned. And he said that thing just pulls and pulls, and he gets all the way to the end of it, and he looks around and he goes, and that's just how we are. We believe we can't do it, but we can. And he goes, I've not been able to stop thinking about this. He goes, I went home, and I told my wife, and I told my neighbor, and then my brother-in-law came over, and I told him. And he says, I'm not going to be like that anymore. Now, while I'm standing there watching, there's tears running down my face because I'm like, this guy is transformed. He has 3 kids and a wife. So I say that's generational change. Now, that's ultimately because of lean. I'm talking about Stephen Covey. It's about what we're doing in people, but that's just one element, changing the culture. But because of him, then things started, when he started doing that, it was just like catalyst. Things just start changing. But it took some time. It was low and slow. I thought, wow, this is taking a lot longer than I wanted. You know, I mean, they say that Rome wasn't built in a day. I wasn't the foreman on that job. I mean, I wanted it done. Let's just move on. But it just didn't happen. So that was our first thing. Our big, kind of pithy takeaways. I guess the first one is that one. The second one is, and I think a lot of you use this, and if I'm borrowing something that I've seen on your videos that you all have put out there, it's okay, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to take it, but it really clicked with us and resonated with our team. The version 1.0 technique. Okay, what that is to us is our team embraced the concept of the version 1.0. 4 minutes, okay. So with that, try something. Do the 1.0. And then that's going to make clear what the 2.0 improvement needs to be. But for our guys, they really got that, because my wife will walk to the plant, or I'll walk to the plant, or Dave will walk to the plant, and they'll go, hey Dave, let me show you this. Now, this is just the 1.0, and I've already got the 2.0 going over here, but let me show you what I got. And they'll start showing it, because what it does to me is it gets through overcomes the inertia and the perfectionism. If you just go ahead and, it's the 1.0. It doesn't have to be perfect then, but it's getting them to do something. If they can get this is the version 1.0, and they take pride in it. They go, this is the 1.0. I'm already working on the 2.0. And so for us, that was something that I think a takeaway. So then we went to the Toyota plant. So we did go to the Sistine Chapel. Actually, went up there for our 1 year anniversary. That's what we did on our 1 year of lean. We went up to Kentucky to actually tour the Toyota plant. And this is my team. And you know, they're all smiling. They had a blast. They got so much of it. I'll have to say, I was worried that this isn't cabinet making. Are they going to be able to make the connections with building a car? You know, we're not building cars. Could they take the lean stuff away? And they could. They came back with all kinds of ideas and things that they wanted to implement. So for us, we were close enough. I mean, it was how many hour drive? 3 hour drive? Something like that. About 3 hours from us. So it's not bad for us. I understand it's a long ways for other people to go. So we did that. Let me tell you the biggest change in here. My crew changed so much during this time, and I didn't realize it, but I ended up hiring a lot of millennials during this time in transition. So actually in a month I ended up hiring basically 6, because some people left that were a little older and the folks came in, and it's the biggest change that I've had in my business, really. I mean, I'm doing lean, but I'm finding, I'm learning, I'm researching, millennials are very open to relationships, very relational, really want to talk a lot and want to be involved. And so that was totally different than anything that I had seen before. And so I love my millennials. So if I say anything in here that sounds negative, I don't mean to. I'm loving them, and we're getting along great. But one of the things that we do think it may be a little millennial pitfall is that a lot of things that we would try to get them to do, they kind of see the whole rather than breaking down the subparts. They continue to sort of like the whole piece instead of saying, okay, what are the subparts that make that up? They would want to make the whole thing better. It's like, okay, but there's subparts that make that up. How can we get it better? And so for us, we just did a little thing that they really like. And so real-time feedback is one of the things that I would say that reading and trying to understand, they really want to know if they're doing a good job more than anybody else. For anybody who's a boomer, for example, if you're a boomer, I'm a Generation X, but I'm 47. But if you're a boomer, think about how much feedback that you would like. Okay? Now I got this from a book. I didn't make this up. I'm going to tell you that sticking points. Sticking Points by Hayden Shaw. And he says, if you're a boomer, I want you to imagine how much feedback you like. Then I want you to double it, now quadruple it, and you're meeting the millennials about halfway. Okay? That's how much they want to be. If a boomer, think about how much you would really like to have feedback, double it, then quadruple it, and then you are getting halfway to what a millennial likes. And here is why, if you don't hear anything else I said today,
you're not gonna marry one of those.
well, I have no idea. All right. So the biggest thing, and Paul does it so masterfully, and I think that's the one thing with millennials. It's with everybody likes this, but millennials have, since the time that they were little and they could hold a bat in their hand, or they could dance, or they could do whatever, they've had a coach. And so the word coach to them is very comfortable, and they want to be coached. And when that word's not just a buzzword, I think you come and say, hey, I see you're doing these good things, but these are things that I'd like to see you improve upon. And they're comfortable with coaching. So anyway, that's that. I tell you some different differences, but don't worry about that. And that's us. So.
Wow, Ken, thank you.
Thank you all.